Okay, this evening I thought I would do a little tour of this neighborhood and how it's changed in character since a couple years ago when the program took me down and my targeting became very overt. I think before that time I was actually targeted. Some of the behaviors were there, but I had not been hit with the energy weapons and I was a functional human being at that time. I had peace, I had relationships. This neighborhood, I used to brag, it's kind of an older neighborhood. And I couldn't believe how friendly it was. I always called it like old school America. Um, this house right here that I fixed up, a couple lived here from 1955 till 13 when they became too old to live here anymore. So it was a one owner house, the way they used to do it in this country. This house next door, you can see the corner of brown and tan, was owned by an elderly couple. They were super nice. Um, I talked to them a little bit in the time they were here. Very quiet. Really nice people. Just like to work in the yard, and they also have lived here basically their whole working life. Um, Now, at the time I was targeted, they had moved out, and the house was empty on the market. There's a back bedroom with no window, a blank wall that faces my bedroom, and that's where my attack happened. That's where I was burned with the energy weapons and shocked sleepless and got the lesions all over my body and became unable to think clearly. And that's ultimately what ended me up in the hospital after 3 months of no sleep, summer of 2020. It's possible, I've suspected, since nobody was in the house at that time, they might have shot directed energy weapons through their wall right into my bedroom because my head was right against the wall that faces their wall. Although the burns were on top of my body, so then again, it could have come from satellite or something in my attic, but who knows? They could have easily hit the top of my head from that building. It just sat there on the market, suspiciously empty for a long time. And finally, these people moved in. They've done some various targeting behaviors. I won't even try to chronicle all of them, but a lot of mimicking, but they have not ever spoken to me. Now, down the street from that one house, you can see a white van, and that guy has an appliance business. Even since before I was targeted, he got weird on me too. I'd try to talk to him, and he would just, like, if he was on the street and I was on the street, he would just like quickly glance away and walk real fast to his house, like he just was not going to look at me or talk to me, even though he knows who I am. He's normally really friendly. This whole neighborhood used to be very friendly. Um, and there's all kinds of people who participate. Um, you can't see it, but there's a guy down the street that I've talked to a long time. We've had some good conversations. But he was just here earlier. I was trying to make a video. He conveniently pulled in on his bike right at the time I was here and interrupted it, and I don't think that was an accident. Um, but he talks really nice to me and everything, cool, but he also does a lot of mimicking behaviors. So, he knows something about the program. And I explained to him exactly why I've been hiding in the house for 2 years and been incapacitated, and he seemed to understand. He said he believed in MK Ultra, but yet he continued the mimicking behaviors. So it's weird. People know the program to some extent sometimes, and yet they'll still be fake about it. He just had this really over enthusiastic smile. Oh, it's so good to see you again. And I just told him, hey, I don't know what you've been told. I know the neighborhood's been told I am a horrible person. And I said, you can look up this program, whatever. Left it at that. Now over here, behind that grayish Corvette, is a pale yellow house. That particular neighbor is a senior couple, very healthy. The guy, he was the first neighbor I met when I came here, and we just talked up a storm for many times. We'd go play in the backyard with his dog with balls, or he'd come over here and chat with me in the morning before I'd go to work, or just, regular conversations. Here comes Pete right now, the guy that I was talking about earlier. He's gone by several times today in his white truck. He was on his bike earlier, but he's come by multiple times sometimes, and I don't know why. Anyway, the neighbor across the street, I thought we had a really excellent relationship. He would give me tips on doing flooring contracting work, because that's what he did his whole life. And there were times I helped him on his house do other things, little repairs and stuff. And we just had a lot of interesting talks. He's super smart. The minute this program began on me, the minute everything started changing, he immediately changed from he would stroll over here all the time and talk several times a week at least. He won't look at me. He won't wave at me. Let's see what this car coming by. Oh, notice he's got his lights fired up. Anyway, yeah, his in 2 years' time, he knows I'm over here. I mean, suddenly he just completely walled me out. Last time he was over here was right when I got out of the nut house. He wouldn't even look me in the eye. He would talk to my mom, but not me. And my mother tried to cover over that fact. Everybody tries to make it sound like, oh, people just don't know what to think of you because they don't know what happened, which is a bunch of garbage, because they're not sympathetic. They're full of mocking and stalking behaviors and the giveaways that they're in the program. Anyway, I really feel bad about this one, because this guy made me feel like this is a great neighborhood and I could count on someone who, if I ever needed help with anything, or I would help him if he ever needed it. And it was just really cool. He's a JW. I've heard JWs are heavily involved in this program, according to the stalkerbeware.com website. I don't know if that's true or not, but the switch was unbelievable. It was just either he really liked me and then he changed when the program made their announcement about him, to him about me, or he was one of the ones that make friends intentionally and then just to get to know you and cut you off. And here's a car that just pulled up here, is doing a weird stop for some reason. I'm sure it has to do with some of what I'm doing here. This house, moving along, here we've got this Corvette and this Subaru. There's often very expensive pickups and SUVs there, and this little house used to belong to a little old lady who was really nice, and she just came and went. This could be somebody who's just trying to provide a presence here because I'm videoing right now. Sometimes they'll do that. They'll just put people up there just to let you know they're there. But this house was, when she got out of there, someone either bought it and rented it out, or have bought it and are living in it, but there's a constant turnover, a lot of expensive vehicles in and out of there. At that previous house, you can't see it, but the neighbor there has a kind of late model Volkswagen, and he had an old Dodge that him and his wife shared, and the transmission was going bad. I rode in it, and it is. He said, I don't know where we're going to get the money on our limited income to afford a transmission. Magically, when I start getting targeted, a new car shows up. Just like over here, a bunch of new cars showed up, and you can see this is obviously planned to be right in my face right here. Of course, this has nothing whatsoever to do with me shooting video right now at all, right? That this car would just happen to pull in here and do this U-turn right in front of my house with his flashers on, which is part of the program always. Isn't that interesting that he would just he didn't stop at any particular place except that lady just walked up to that front door and left, and then they did a turnaround right in front of here. All this crap is staged. And the people who are in these houses know that this program was on, and they're told to go along with the street theater garbage. Anyway, this guy down here just magically acquired a late model car that he said he'd never have money for. These people always have expensive cars. I've heard that people who participate enough in this program do get paid with cars. It goes beyond just the gas money or the gift cards. But it's really interesting that this guy who said he had no money, you can't see it, but the roof of his Volkswagen's over there, over the top of the Corvette. This place always has expensive vehicles in and out of it, and their schedule varies like crazy. It's never the same. So the character of a lot of these houses is that people are here and their rent is being paid for them under the stalking program. They may have other side jobs in between, but I've heard so very often that they will commandeer entire neighborhoods of houses and give people great deals to occupy their house for the program. Here is a house that was pretty stable. I knew the guy that was renting it when I came here, and then it sold. It was offered to me. I didn't have the money at the time. I was in between places where I couldn't do it. I would have liked to have gotten it and fixed it up, but I didn't. So these people have had it for a while, and these people, this is where the Domino's car was earlier, they stalk regularly. They have no fixed schedule at all. They have another vehicle, a white one, that comes in and out of here sometimes, but this silver Honda is the main vehicle. And it seems to need to come and go anytime I come out to like where I am right now, from the side of the garage out in front of the house or to my cars. That's when all their coordinated entrances and exits need to come. Or sometimes it'll just sit there with its lights on for a couple hours. Really strange. But this place, yeah, sometimes they will all flood out of their house, and they'll go check the mail and get in their car and work on the yard and paint a picture and take out the trash and do everything at the same time. And they're right across the street. Not one of them will look or wave or say hello, but they all come out there and do their little gig. And yeah, this lady is available for coordinated, synchronized, comings and goings anytime she's needed. And sometimes they'll have the little kids come out and stalk around. They use children in this sick program somehow. They actually teach kids to do the little gang stalking stuff, and it's really disgusting that they're too innocent and they shouldn't be having that done with them participating in crime. When I was out here working today, which is the first time in a long time I've had the energy since this program, I've seen all kinds of stuff. People are coordinated when I'm out here working in front of the white fence. They're coordinated to need to take their walks by me right on that side of the street, right when I'm there. Hardly ever see anyone walking here, except I used to in the past every day, but I don't now. There were a couple walking down the street, a young couple, just before when I was out. I was right out here working near this Japanese maple. And they go strolling by in perfect synchronization, and they were all red clothes, red shirts, red shoes. Both of them had their hair dyed bright red. How obvious could it be? Red is the color of choice in gang stalking, though they do use others on me. They use green very heavily on me. Here's a house that changes hands regularly. This used to be pretty stable too, and I've met the owner of it, but it seems like when I got into the program, he was immediately offered a pretty good contract probably to let InfraGard rent it out. And they do all kinds of theater. They come and go here again at very unpredictable schedules. Oftentimes their cars start and leave right in synchronization with me doing something. The previous people that were here, they were so into it that, like, if I opened the hood of my car to work on it, they'd open the hood of their car. And of course they'd bring out their bright lime green lawn chairs to put around while they were pretending to work on it. I don't think they ever did any real work. They just opened the hood and sit around the vehicle and hang out with the hood open just to mock me working on mine. That's how twisted this program is. I mean, it's so weird. You can see over here, there's a bag of green product left in front of the house. I don't know what it is, and that would seem so insignificant to someone, but when you're sensitized to what they do, you know in your heart what they're doing, and you can never prove it. Just like when I go to the grocery store and there's all kinds of people carrying around green bags or cases of products, or pulling up on green bikes, or parking line green cars next to me. It's so I don't know. I can't think of the right word. They don't leave any detail out of your life. It's quiet now, but today there were just like bunches and bunches of red cars stalking back and forth. Some would go back and forth multiple times on the street. Normally the street is like you see it right now, very, very quiet. Sometimes you won't see a car even in an hour, but there are times I can come out to this position I'm in right now and a flood of cars will go past, like 6 in a row, certain colors, and a lot of times they'll even be doing gestures in the window, certain gang stalking gestures that they do with me continuously, like they can be scratching their chin or their nose, or flipping back their hair. I hear that's a Masonic symbol, but I don't know. I've become very, very thirsty and dehydrated since this program beat my body up with microwaves, and so sometimes people will drive by here or by an intersection, and they'll tip the glass up right to their face right when I'm driving by, just to mock my dehydration. And it happens so often that it's not a coincidence. It's the same as like if people have come over to visit me, they'll bring their water bottles all with them. They won't touch them, but they'll sit there and just play with them while they're talking to me, just fidget with them and stare at them and twirl them around, but they won't drink from them. It's just to let me know that they know I have a dehydration problem, and they're mocking me like little fourth graders instead of senior citizens. And they delight in it. They like watching me squirm. For whatever reason, they believe that's the right thing to do. So moving on over here, this house is kind of almost a twin of the way this one was built. There were nice people in it at the beginning, and then the owner's son moved in, and he was kind of a cocky guy, and he seemed nice enough, but he would also do obnoxious garbage. He'd park his dark truck with his black trailer right in the middle of the street with no lights on. I'd come here and I could have crashed right into the back of it. Had to go around it onto the shoulder. I thought he was just being arrogant at the time. I'm thinking now that it was the beginning of targeting. I hadn't been made aware yet, but how obvious to park a black trailer in the dark with no lights on in the middle of the street and then just come strolling casually out with his woman and to get in there and take off wherever they were going to go. He also called the cops on me. I went over there one day after that. They moved out, and I went and looked in the front window. I just wanted to see the interior because I heard it was like the twin of my house, and I didn't realize there was a little infrared camera on the porch. And I said, oh well, whatever. I wasn't causing any harm. And they called the cops on me and had them speak to me, and happened to be a cop that was related to me in a sort of way, not really, but he's my stepfather's, I think, grandson. He's like, oh, I know you. And I'm kind of thinking they sent him just as not a coincidence. This guy also destroyed part of my backyard. It's back there a ways, but there were two beautiful old pear trees back there, and there was a water leak supposedly. It must have been thousands and thousands of gallons, but it flooded my whole yard, made it grow off of weeds and blackberries. It destroyed the pear tree, killed it. It's been there probably 50 years. And out behind the house just grew a bunch of blackberries and weeds, and there was a nice little stand of oaks back there. I used to go back there and maintain it myself. They all died and fell down from being drowned because they're native oaks. This was pre-targeting knowledge, of course, and then I thought he had a leaky pond in his back because he had ducks or something. It continued long after that. So they must have a pipe buried underground that you can't see, just pumping and water, making my backyard a bog. And with the cost of city utilities, nobody is going to spend out of their own pocket that kind of money. This was paid by the program for him to do that. And here we are, they're limiting us to watering certain days and watering at night and conserve water. And Shasta Lake's almost empty. And this is a super dry, hot area, and we're in a horrible drought and fire situation. And yet, they can pump thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons of water. It only worked because my backyard's lower than theirs, but you couldn't see where the water source was. The ground was just soaking wet. And I probably would have had to get on their property and excavate to find where that pipe was because it was buried underground. So once again, I get screwed, and you can't prove anything. So now it's a big disaster back there, and they got their thrill because they killed my tree. I've had several tree these damages and killings during this. They know I like plants and horticulture, and so they try to just get to you any way they can. They're such disgusting human beings. But yeah, these people should have been, fined a bunch of money for wasting all that water in this situation, because you can't even water your lawn during the day here now, and it's only on certain days. But when it comes to harassing one human being, hey, anything goes. We can waste enough water for 50 households, no big deal. So that's kind of the outline of the neighborhood. I've had things done to my house. I have a studio apartment back here that I built, converted, and I let some people stay there out of the goodness of my heart, thinking it was the right thing to do. One of them was a Japanese girl that conned me into living here for a while, and I said, okay, you need help for a little while. We're supposed to do that and help each other. She immediately went from very, very friendly. I know now that she was a honeypot or a honey trap, whatever they call it, but she was super friendly and asked, she had me take her around to show her things. And then the minute she got in here, she put up black curtains, refused to talk to me, even answer the phone. And then the day she was supposed to be moving out, I said, okay, I'm going to go get her to move out. She intercepted me in the health food store downtown. I walked in the door and she was right there standing there, and she immediately yelled out that I was stalking her, which was so untrue. They knew like clockwork that I went to that store on Friday to do my shopping and get my water, because they give out free purified water there. The whole thing was a setup. I didn't even realize it at first. And after that, I got a call from the police, and she said that they told me that she had reported me as harassing and stalking her, which is so untrue. When she was here, I wasn't even living here. I came like twice, like to mow the lawn and work inside the other section of the house. And it is a separate section of the house with a locked partition between. I even gave her my only copies of the keys to show her that I had no intention or way of ever getting in there. And I was honest about that. I really was stupid and naive. I thought I was really I thought I was being good by making her feel secure and all that, but nope, she had to screw me over anyway and report me to the cops. And I told the cops the situation. He said just, throw her number away, do not contact her again. I can't see anything here to report. And thank God that's what happened. The second person was another Asian, a Filipina. She stayed here. She was married to a former mayor and city councilman of Reading. Divorced. She showed up at my church. I don't know if she really wanted to come there, or if it was just a staging to stalk me, but she ended up asking me if she could stay here for a short while and pay me rent, and I said okay again. Well, it ended up being a long time with hardly any rent, and she was okay for a while, kind of abrasive sometimes, but kind of nice too. And I thought, okay, it's just her personality. And we hung out and took walks together sometimes, and just I'd help her out with her car, just being a friend. And then she became so rambunctious and wanting to control stuff, I just finally said, time to go. Meanwhile, I had put in new cabinets in there, a little kitchenette. The whole front of it, the lacquer is stripped off in streaks. I'm going to have to refinish it all. I don't think it's just water damage. I guarantee someone gave her a caustic chemical to pour down the front of them to screw them up. If I had the key right now, I'd go in there and video that. So I was nice to her, and she crapped on me, and that's pretty typical. I did a lot of nice stuff for her. Helped her get a job, helped her fix her car, helped her when she claimed not to have money for rent, which she probably did. She wouldn't go get a job after she got fired for breaking the rules at the job she got. Anyway, and she tries to email me now sometimes. Oh, brother, how you doing? Supposedly back in the Philippines. And I'll tell her about the program, like I tell everybody about the program that's destroying me, and those things get completely ignored. And people always say, I'm too dumb to understand what you're talking about, which is complete crap. This program is very simple to explain, especially if you give them credible websites and evidence.